Welcome back to the channel, guys, and a belated happy new year. Hoping everything is all and well in your guys' world. As things in my world are, well, we'll just leave it as pretty much the same. My mother is still in hospital, and there's been some complications, but she's a fighter, so I'm praying for her, and we'll go on hoping that things work out for her. That being said, it's been a long time since I've been on. In fact, the last episode I did was December the 16th. December the 15th, just a day before the Florida Panthers game that was on Amazon Prime, which I already gave you my vent about that, as it should have been a Sportsnet national broadcast. That being said, it wasn't, and it was quite a barn burner, 11 goals in that game. So traditionally, I give you a good full recap of the 3 games that happened. I'm going to basically breeze over the 9 games that has happened since that point. And we're also going to get into the poll question. And one thing with the poll question, guys, I am no longer using the YouTube community page. The poll questions will go, going forward, will be on X. And we'll go from there. As I also post live posts when I'm on X as well. And it's a little bit more of an unfiltered version of me. So I might have some language for those of you out there that aren't fond of the language. Just be aware. So yeah, Happy New Year to you guys. Lots to talk about as we dive into everything here. And again, guys, if you like the content I bring, please feel free to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, as it'll help me grow the channel. And again, follow me on X, and let's dive right into the lineup for today. Okay, so we're going to do a quick recap. 9 games we're going to recap from the Florida to basically the Seattle Kraken game. And again, they're going to be just quick recaps. Then I'm going to give you the Western Conference standings and where everything has moved since then. And believe it or not, considering it's been 2-3 weeks since I've last been on, there's been very subtle movements in the standings. There is a new top dog, and we'll get into that. Also got the Rig Report. How did the Edmonton Oilers do in December? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, guys, very, very well. They're starting to rebound. They're starting to play very well. They only went down in 2 different statistical aspects. And when they did, they went down by only 1 point. So really well. They've been pretty much up in the month of December. The power play is looking good. Penalty kill still is getting better, but still needs work. And we'll get into that. We'll go around the league. Not much for stories as far as that goes. We're going to get into the poll question, and it is currently up on X. You guys feel free to vote. You may have to scroll down some of my comments from last night's game, but it will be there. There's a few questions I actually have on X right now, but this one was starting to gain some traction. As last check, there was 10 votes, and 90% people voted in one direction. So I'd like to see how that's going to end up, because I have a bit of a different opinion, and when we get into the poll, I'll share that with you guys. There's going to be 3 upcoming games as the Oilers are set to take on the Bruins, the Penguins, and the Blackhawks. The Bruins are starting to play much better. Pittsburgh is a little bit better too, but they are definitely a shadow of yesterday's past, and I wouldn't even say they're in retool mode. I'd say they're in rebuild mode. Is Crosby going to stick around? I don't know. We'll get into final thoughts. If any of you guys out there have any questions or comments that you'd like to make, if you want to defend any players that I may throw under the bus a little bit, but I'm not throwing anybody under the bus this time around, because they've been actually fairly good in December. So let's get into it with the quick recap of the last 9 games as they took on the Florida Panthers in Edmonton. Stanley Cup rematch. Yep. And it was not nationally broadcasted. And I vented about that on my last episode that I shot on December 15th, and I'm still venting about that. I hope the NHL fixes that because something like that shouldn't happen. A Stanley Cup rematch should always be nationally broadcasted, especially in Canada. Maybe not so much in the States. I don't know if hockey is starting to grow in the States or if it's still, trying to work its way up with the professional sports. But anyway, on December 16th, Carter Verhaeghe scored the tie-breaking goal in a barn burner, 6-5, as defending champions. That still hurts me to say. The Florida Panthers would beat the Edmonton Oilers on Monday in the rematch of the Stanley Cup Final. Now, if you remember the Stanley Cup Final, I believe it was 2-1, so only 3 goals, I believe it was. I tried to forget it, so I think I might have done a good job because I don't even remember what the score was. But regardless, this one was 11 goals in this game, and it started off with Bofist, and then Hyman would tie it, then Tkachuk would score, Hyman would tie it, Brown would take the lead, Draisaitl would make it 4-2, and then Florida would just unload. And yeah, it wasn't pretty. Sam Reinhart, 1 goal, 1 assist, was your first star. Zach Hyman with 2 goals was his second star, and McDavid. I wonder how they computed this one because he did have 3 assists. However, he was a -2 in that game. So he was more of a liability, but he somehow made it as the 3rd star. Stuart Skinner, horrible 786 save percentage. I'm not throwing him under the bus, but I'm just telling you the stats. And yeah, the Panthers once again show the Oiler faithful that, that they still own us. And hopefully when we have the rematch in Florida a little bit later, I believe it's in March. Don't quote me on it, but hopefully when we have the rematch in Florida, we take it to them. Okay. 2 nights later, they would take on the Boston Bruins. Connor McDavid would get the tying goal at 2:21 remaining in regulation, and Matthias Ekholm would bank home the overtime winner as the Oilers shook off the shoddy start of a 3-2 victory against the Bruins, of which they will be playing on Tuesday in Boston. Let me pull up some stats for that game here. Just one moment. Is that on that? No, I think it was that one was, yeah, there we go. Okay. So it started off with Lindholm getting a goal. Then Kastelik. So Boston looked pretty good. Zach Hyman would get one, and then McDavid would tie one, and then it would go all the way to overtime where Matthias Ekholm would get his 4th of the year from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Draisaitl. Your top stars were, of course, the game-winning goal by Ekholm puts him ranked number 1. Zach Hyman with a goal and assist. And Connor McDavid, 1 goal. He was a +2. He was the 3rd star. Now, these are based off of the scores star system. So these aren't actually me per se telling you who I thought were the stars. But yeah. Then they would go, I'm just going to go on with this a little bit quicker. I'm not going to read so many stats here because these games are all in the past. On the 21st of December, the Oilers would play the San Jose Sharks. Leon Draisaitl scored 18 seconds into overtime to overcome another slow start to win their 2nd straight game in extra time to beat the San Jose Sharks. This game, they've been having their troubles with San Jose, and this is a team that they shouldn't be, but historically, we all know the Oilers don't fare up against the worst teams in the league. Hence last year, they lost to San Jose. It led to Jay Woodcroft's dismissal. So historically, this team seems to struggle with the lower tier teams, the bottom teams. So I'm telling you right now, look out for Saturday when they take on the Chicago Blackhawks. On December 22nd, they took on the Ottawa Senators. They defeated them 3-1. Zach Hyman broke the tie on a power play in the second period. Stuart Skinner made 20 saves, and the Edmonton Oilers beat the Ottawa Senators season-high win streak at 6 games now. So you can tell the Oilers are starting to fly, hence a good rig report for the month of December, and I'm loving it. On December 28th, what I always fear the worst, after the break. The Oilers, after breaks, historically, is another thing, don't do very well. And they would actually start off after this break with 2 losses in a row. The first one to the LA Kings on December 28th as Quinton Byfield scored his second goal of the game with 1 minute and 41 seconds remaining in overtime as the Kings would beat the Oilers 4-3. At least the Oilers banked a point. And you know what? This LA Kings team is not too shoddy. They're actually just above Edmonton in the standings right now. This would be also Warren Fogle. He had a hell of a night. I don't know exactly what his points were, but I think he had 3. I think he had a goal and 2 assists, if I do remember. So he had a hell of a game showing off to his old team that he's still a valuable commodity. The next day they took on the Ducks. This one hurt. This one really hurt because Anaheim is not a very good team at all. And they really took it to the Oilers. Oilers looked flat. I don't know if it was the California ice. I don't know. They just did not look very good. Ryan Strome scored with 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining as the Anaheim Ducks rallied from a 2-goal deficit in the second period to defeat the Oilers 5-3. That one, again, stung. Did not like that result. They needed to play much better in that game. On New Year's Eve, the Edmonton Oilers entertained the Utah Hockey Club in Edmonton, Alberta. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins would score the go-ahead goal early in the second period. Connor McDavid and Connor Brown each had a pair of assists. The Edmonton Oilers beat the Utah Hockey Club 4-1. One of their few New Year's Eve games that they've actually won. I think something I heard along the lines. Now, don't quote me for it, but I think they have only 3 New Year's Eve wins in 20 efforts. Something like that. I don't know exactly what it was. The Oilers would kick in the new year, January 3rd, 2025, against the Ducks again. Another hard tilt. However, the Oilers would get the better of the Ducks in this game. Again, it's Anaheim. Oilers should be running over this team, but they didn't. They still got the W. Leon Draisaitl scored the tie-breaking goal late in the third period and beat the Anaheim Ducks 3-2 Friday night to win their second straight win. And then, just last night, they took on the Seattle Kraken, and we saw some goals out of, well, I wouldn't say Vasily Podkolzin. I like what he's done so far. But Jeff Skinner finally breaks his snide and gets a goal. In the first 5.5 minutes, they both scored. Edmonton would beat the Seattle Kraken 4-2 on Saturday night to get their third straight victory, going back from New Year's Eve to present. So the Oilers are coming around, for sure. They are definitely coming around. A lot of stuff is clicking. Consistency, not McDavid, but Draisaitl has been very consistent. I love what he's doing. There's a lot of ups and downs with McDavid this year, though, so it's kind of interesting to see what's going on there. And I think that would be it. So we'll go back into the main screen. And we're going to take a look at the Western Conference standings. And I've added a new element now that we are into 2025 and getting closer to the playoff picture. But I'm going to throw in the playoff pairing matchups if the playoffs were to start today for the Western Conference and only the Western Conference, because that's where we have an invested interest in. Let's do this. Okay, so again, there hasn't been much changes considering it's been 3 weeks since I last talked to you guys. Vegas is now top dog in the West as they went up 2 since that last time. Winnipeg is down 1. Minnesota's down 1. Then LA, Edmonton, Dallas, Colorado, Vancouver, and Calgary all stay in their respective spots from the last time. Utah is down 1. Seattle's down 1. St. Louis is up 2. San Jose down 2. Anaheim +1. Nashville +1. And Chicago stays even. Dead last in the league with, 29 points? Ooh. And they lost very, very, very badly to the St. Louis Blues at the Winter Classic at Wrigley Field. So that double ouch, because I know last year when we had the Heritage Classic and we were hosting against the Calgary Flames, and the Oilers weren't playing very well. That was still in that early phases just before the firing of our coach, Woodcroft. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. They weren't playing very good, but that was the one thing I was hoping. At least win that game. Don't get embarrassed in that environment. So what does that mean for the current playoff matches if it was to start today? This is a hypothetical. It's just a fun thing I wanted to throw in. Vancouver would take on the Vegas Golden Knights. Colorado would take on the Winnipeg Jets. Dallas and Minnesota. This would be a hell of a series. These two teams go back a long ways, because if you do remember, the Minnesota Wild were at one point in time called the Minnesota North Stars. The Minnesota North Stars, for whatever reason at that time, obviously there was probably not enough revenue, got sold to an owner in Dallas. They became the Dallas Stars. Minnesota would go a few years without a hockey club until the Minnesota Wild showed up. So this is almost like Minnesota Era 1 versus Minnesota Era 2. That would be and they're very good teams. And it's surprising that Dallas is actually that far down the totem pole this year. Then we would also see, once again, a rematch. And this would be, the fourth or fifth time now that they've played? Edmonton and LA. However, LA would have home ice advantage at this present point in time. Okay, that means we can go into the rig report, and I'm going to just say it real quick. I'm going to say it a few times in the actual video. This is a pre-recorded video, by the way. Oilers really did good in the month of December, and can't say enough. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, it's time to do the final rig report of 2024. That's right. 2024 has come and gone. And one good thing about the December 2024 is the Edmonton Oilers have improved on every statistical aspect that I do the rig report on, with exception to 2. And the 2 that they didn't improve on, they have only dropped 1 spot. So let's give them a big salute. So those of you that are new to the channel or don't understand how this rig report works and what I basically made up here, basically it is an actual legitimate formula grading system. So basically, if they are ranked first or second in the league, they get an A+. If they're 31st, 32nd in the league, they get a fail. And then all the allocated grades that follow in between. And I will kind of mention where some of these grades were for some of them, especially the ones where they've had a huge increase on. But we got to be proud of the boys. They're starting to finally play good, despite the California road trip where they lost to both LA and Anaheim, which I wasn't very pleased about, but they were able to get their, together against Utah on New Year's Day. So let's break down the stats that I base this off of. We'll start off with point percentage, shots for, shots against, power play, penalty kill, goals for, goals against, save percentage, face-off win percentage, and I will tabulate all of those to come up with a total amount, total grade of where the Oilers currently stand in the league from October till present, till December 31st, which was the last day of December. So it does include the New Year's game against Utah. Let's get into it. Point percentage for November, they scored a B. They were 13th in the league at that point in time. After a tricky start to the season and having the fan base wondering what happened to the team they saw just a few short months ago, the Edmonton Oilers have returned to form despite some injury obstacles. They have bounced back 5 spots. They've jumped up to 8th to make them now a A-. So one of those stats that they've improved on that it wasn't like their point percentage was horrible, but it's nice to see them improve on whatever stat we can come up with. In November, the Edmonton Oilers were an A+ for shots for, as they were ranked 2nd in the league. That's amazing. This would be one of the 2 stats that the Edmonton Oilers would lose ground on for the month of December, both of which I'll add saying only by one position, like I mentioned at the beginning. Yeah, they dropped off 1 spot. They're 3rd right now, which puts them at an A. Ooh, whoop-de-doo. You know what? I'm okay with that. In November, the Edmonton Oilers were a A against shots against, and they were 5th in the league at that point in time. The Oilers continued to stay resilient on that stat, improving only by 1 spot, which still keeps them with the same grade. Yes, they still remain with an A. They have jumped up 1 spot to 4th. Let's get into the power play. The power play was a C-, and a lot of people were wondering what the hell is going on with this team. This team had a league or a history, I believe, a league history best power play only 2 seasons ago, and now they've just dropped off the face of the earth. So they were a C- back in, November, at 23rd overall. We're talking McDavid, we're talking Draisaitl, we're talking a 50-point goal scorer in Zach Hyman, and this team is that far down the ranks. I was like shaking my head in disbelief. The Edmonton Oilers, with a huge surprise of their fan base, really dropped off the map on this stat the first 2 months of the season. However, jumped up 10 spots in the month of December. So that, to me, deserves ten spots is huge. They were 23rd in November. They are now currently 13th in the league. And they score a B. In the month of November, the penalty kill was a D-. From the start of the season, this has been the Edmonton Oilers' Achilles heel, starting off in November with a dreaded F. That's right. If you look back in November, in October, they were 31st in the league on this particular, and I got September there, but it was not September, it was October. They were 31st in the league. They went from 31st to 28th and currently stand in 24th. So they're making small strides as they are now a D+. Hope that we can see a little bit more effort on them in regards to this stat. In November, for goals for, they were a B-, and that would be goals for. That would be 16th in the league back in November. After a sluggish start, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid, and Zach Hyman, the puck is starting to find the twine, and the trio is starting to look like the boys who represented us back in June in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They moved up, goals for, they moved up from 16th to 10th, putting them in a B+ position. So another improvement. Again, All of this is improvement with the exception of 2 stats, and that's all a good thing. Goals against, they were ranked 17th in the league back in November, giving them a C+. They've jumped up 5 spots to 12th. It's not a matter of if, but when Chris Knobloch wins the Adams, it will be a well-deserved, as he's constantly repairing and filling holes, steering the team in the right direction. 100%. This guy is, I tell you what, when Woody got fired, I was very disappointed because I'm like, here we go again. Same old song and dance. But he is a hell of a good coach. They get a B for this month. So that's a pretty good jump for them from C+ to a B. When it comes to the save percentage, this is a stat that the Oilers really, really need to start figuring out. And this would be something that I can't think of the goaltending coach right now off the top of my head, but they have to come together and come with some steady solutions because it has been all over the map. This stat really needs to stabilize. It's like turbulence descending from LAX or into LAS in Vegas, at least from my experience. Both Skinner and Picard have played well in December. We'll see if what's in store for 2025. Now, I'm going to go over some of these before I give you the grade on the save percentage and just the fluctuations here. So we're going to go October 23, they were 30th. November of 23, they were 63rd, 69th in December of 23. Then they jumped up to first, and this was when I was doing the rig report based on a monthly basis. 27th, 5th, 23rd, 27th, 26th last month, up to 9th this month. So a huge, huge improvement. But again, this consistency needs to improve as they are a B+ for this month. I'd like to see them flatline a little bit and stay consistent right around the, I'm happy with a B to a C+ range because I know we don't have the elite of elite goaltenders that some of the teams do have, like the Hellebucks or the Ottingers. But we do have a good goalie in Skinner, and he's finding his way. He's trying to find his way. But I just want to see some consistency. That is the main takeaway of this one. In November, for the face-off win percentage, they got an A. And I do believe this is the second stat where the Edmonton Oilers lost ground, dropping 1 spot. The Oilers' worst mark on the stat occurred in October of 23, where they were ranked 15th in the league and graded a C. Since then, they've been doing very well on the rig report. So that means the overall grade for the Edmonton Oilers, I'm jumping ahead myself. Yes, they remain an A. The overall grade for the Edmonton Oilers for the month of December on the rig report, the final rig report of 2024, the Edmonton Oilers score a B+. So, you know what? I'm quite pleased with their efforts. You can't complain. B+, that's pretty good considering they've improved on every stat with exception of 2, and the 2 that they've dropped off by 1. Anyway, guys, we'll see you at the end of January for the rig report for then. Until then, let's hope that the Oilers continue their winning ways. Let's hope that the Oilers make up some ground, and let's hope by the end of January, we're talking the first place Pacific Division Edmonton Oilers. You guys have an amazing night. Okay, well, there you have it. The Edmonton Oilers had a very, very impressive December. Let's hope that they continue. Let's hope they continue and sail into the playoffs and make noise and win the Stanley Cup. Break the American cycle of cup wins going back since 93. Like, we're in what? This will be 32, 33 years? I've lost track of count. It's been so long since a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. And let's hope it's our Edmonton Oilers. We don't want the Maple Leafs to win. We don't want any other Canadian team to win, but the Edmonton Oilers. I'm kind of selfish that way, I know. All right, let's take a look at some of the news around the league, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. Not a lot has been going on. It's been actually crickets. So it's going to be, I'm just going to briefly go over this one as there isn't really much to discuss. Let's get into the first little story. Austin Matthews dazzles in his return for the Maple Leafs with 2 goals, or with a goal and 2 assists. So good for Matthews. Good. We'll see what he does in the Four Nations tournament representing the U.S. Okay, U.S. tops Czechia to face Finland in the World Junior Championship final, and I do believe that might be even on right now, or it's going to get started pretty shortly. Yeah, it's a bit of a stinger. Canada, for the first time ever in the history of the World Juniors, Canada has finished 5th twice in a row now. They're just not the dominant team that they've been in years past. Back when Jordan Eberle was on there, back when Jonathan Toews, those were some classic teams. And I was watching some of the older games, and Pietrangelo, it was like, wow, like they were loaded. But yeah, they are struggling. Avs, that's written a little bit of a typo there, but Avs Bedard gets clarity on the play that injured Wedgwood. There was a lot of controversy on this play because he was down and out and the whistle wasn't being blown. And I guess Bedard, the coach of the Colorado Avalanche, or Bednar, not Bedard, Bednar, the coach of the Avalanche, absolutely lost his shit complaining about it. And I do think if there's a guy lying on the ice, I think it's, you got to blow the whistle. But that being said, if players start abusing it, then what happens? If they deem that they were faking it, they should be instantly suspended. I think the play should stop dead as soon as there's someone down on the ice, because you never know what kind of medical distress they're actually in. But if they are using it as an advantage point and using it as a faking it, there should be suspensions. Not just a penalty, but suspensions for doing that, because that's a really, really, really unclassy. Okay, and then the Leafs defenseman Philip Myers signs a 2-year, $1.7 million extension. Like I said, guys, not a lot going on in the news. Maybe that's a good thing, because sometimes the news brings a lot of bad stories too. So, yeah, that's all I got for this week for Around the League. So that takes us to the poll question. Now, once again, guys, I'm going to just remind you, I am not using the YouTube community page for the poll questions anymore. It will now be on X. And join me on X during games. I tend to make a comment here and there. Sometimes I get a little nasty with the language. I'll admit it. So a warning for all you guys out there. But this question is currently up on the poll on X. And the reason why I decided to change it is I'm just getting better results. I was not getting very many people contributing to the vote. And when I put it on X, I instantly get hits within the first 5 minutes of people voting. So that's where I will be going forward. The poll question that I have for you guys today is regarding Leon Draisaitl. So what we have seen out of Leon Draisaitl this year, how do you feel about the contract he signed in the summer now? Was he overpaid? Is it spot on? Was it a bargain? Now, Last time I checked, there was about 10 votes. 90% of you say it's spot on. One person said it was a bargain. I actually think it's a bargain when it's going to be done and said in a few years, because I do remember when they signed him for $8 million, I was like, oh my God. And that was Shirelli doing it at that time. Like, what are you doing, Shirelli? That's too much to pay him. And it turned out to be a bargain. We were able, he's still in that final year of that contract. He's still getting $8 million a year. Next year, this contract kicks in for $14 million. I think that will be a bargain when it's all done and said. So anyway, that's my opinion. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Scan that QR code. It won't take you to my community page anymore. It's going to take you to my X profile. So go ahead and sign there. Chime in. Join me during live games. I would more than happy to hear from you guys. Renegade Man, join me in on X, and that'd be great to hear from you too. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so where are we now? Okay, we got the upcoming games, as there is 3 games coming up. We'll just get into that screen right now. 3 games as they'll take on, they're on the road trip, by the way. They started that road trip with Seattle last night, but yeah, they go to Boston for Tuesday, Pittsburgh for Thursday, and then they'll play in Chicago on Saturday. And again, watch for that game in Chicago. They seem to do not very well against the lower tier teams. So let's take a look at the game against Boston first and foremost. Boston Bruins are currently 28th in the league for goals for at 2.61. Shots on goal, they're 21st in the league. The power play is 31st in the league. Face-off percentage, they're 4th in the league, so they're kind of right up there with the Edmonton Oilers. Shooting percentage, 27th in the league. So right there tells you a huge story that the Boston Bruins, from previous years, their offense is not doing very good. And when it comes to their defense, they're 17th in the league for goals allowed. For goals allowed. Shots on goal allowed, they're 7th in the league. So they kind of nip it down a little bit defensively. 31st in the league for penalty minutes. Not very disciplined. A lot of frustration. And it's costing them some points. And the penalty kill is 25th in the league. Jeremy Swayman, he's at an $891 with that huge contract. Not good enough. Not owning up to that contract as far as I'm concerned. The Boston Bruins have lost the last 3. In the last 10, they are 5-4-1, and they are 12-6-2 at home. So they have a better home record. Their overall record, 20-17-4. So this is not the team that we saw, 2 years ago, where I think they set an NHL record for the most wins in a season. This is a much different team going forward. The last time they met was on December 19th, where the Oilers, again, I mentioned it earlier in this episode, won 3-2 in Edmonton. And this is the last game of the year between these two, unless they should meet up in the Stanley Cup final. Then they will take on Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins. A chance for Connor to meet up with Sid and maybe strategize for the Four Nations a little bit, as they will be teammates in a month and a half from now, or 2 months from now. I don't know exactly when, but I know it starts, about a month and a half from now. I believe it's middle of February when it starts. The Pens, 14th, tied for 14th in the league for goals, 13th in the league for shots on goal, 3rd in the league for the power play. So their power play is humming. And RPK isn't. So that could be something that the Penguins execute a little bit better and maybe potentially have an advantage. Face-off percentage, they are 9th in the league at 51.8. Shooting percentage, tied for 18th at 10.5. Goals allowed, tied for 31st. This team can't keep the puck out. And one of the reasons is Tristan Jarry is not having a very good year. And defensively, they're not very sound. 29th in the league for shots on goal. Right there tells you a story about the D. Penalty minutes, they are 7th in the league, so they know how to keep their emotions in check. And the penalty kill is 12th in the league with 81. The last time they played each other was on October 25th when the Edmonton Oilers beat them 4-0. Pittsburgh will come into, well, as of now, I don't know if they have any games coming up between now and then, but 17, 17, and 6. Their home record, 11, 7, and 2. The last 10, 5, 3, and 2, and they've lost the last 2. And Tristan Jarry has an 886 save percentage. So again, he is not really playing to his potential either. And then last but not least, the Edmonton Oilers will go into Chicago and take on Connor Bedard and the boys. And this is a game that, again, I always seem to fear because lower tier teams, Edmonton doesn't do very well. San Jose is a good example. And there's just certain trends you start to see. And then eventually they get broken. When they get broken, they get shattered. Like the Minnesota streak of losses all of a sudden. The last time they played the Edmonton Oilers just blew them out of the water. So, but there is trends that seem very familiar with this team. So we'll see. Chicago, dead last in the league. 8th in the Central, a record of 13, 24, and 2. Not playoff bound. And absolutely got destroyed at the Winter Classic by the St. Louis Blues. Yikes. Okay, they are 30th in the league for goals. They are 30th in the league for shots on goal. Their power play is 11th at 23.5. Faceoffs, 31st in the league at 43.9%. Shooting percentage, 24th in the league at 9.9. So offense, despite having Connor Bedard, not very good. Goals allowed, 26th in the league, tied for 26th in the league. Shots on goal allowed, 28th in the league. Penalty minutes, 18th in the league. Penalty kill, 7th in the league. So the penalty kill is their only shining spotlight. That being said, the Oilers, in theory and on paper, should be able to run over them. They should, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, when it comes to the overall record, I think I mentioned that already, or maybe I didn't. 13, 24, and 2. In their home record, 8, 10, and 0. Last 10, 4, and 6, and they are on a one-game winning streak, which is nothing. They won their last game. The goaltender, Arvid Soderblom, is actually one of the studs for this team with a 910 save percentage. He's got a record of 6, 9, and 1. So their tender's playing well. Bedard really in his sophomore year has tapered off. Taylor Hall, I remember talking about, just even as early as maybe 2 years ago, it'd be nice to get Taylor Hall back on the team. I'll tell you right now, I would not want Taylor Hall back on the Edmonton Oilers. Not at all. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Maybe I should run a poll question on that. But I look at since he left the Oilers, he went to, where did he go first to? He got traded to, where did he go first? To New Jersey. And then in New Jersey, he got Player of the Year, or he got the Hart Trophy while he was in New Jersey. And then he went to Buffalo. He went to Arizona, or I went to Arizona first, and then Buffalo, Boston, now Chicago. He's pretty much starting to get a nice collection of jerseys of all the teams he's played for. So, yeah, I don't think I would want him back. The last time the Oilers played him, again, there you go. Chicago beat him on October 12th, 5-2. Just goes to show you, Edmonton, I don't know if they're up for it. If it's too boring of a challenge for them and they just don't really come out flying. But they do struggle against these weaker teams. All right, and that's your 3 games for this week. Again, a road trip. We'll see if the Oilers can do something good, and we'll go from there. And I think we're into final thoughts. No one has chimed in today, so I'll make it quick and brief as we get into that. But I just want to, once again, wish every one of you guys a happy new year. It's good to be back. I'll also let you know that during that time, I did revamp the studio. As you can tell, this episode was pretty different looking format-wise. And I'm trying to learn other things. I'm trying to also learn how to be a little bit more upbeat, to bring a better presentation and not bore you guys all to sleep. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you are new to the channel, feel free to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you like what you saw. It would help me grow the channel. And again, join me on, you can join me on Twitter at Lubed Hockey. I'll just put that banner up real quick. Well, not Twitter, X, I guess. At Gene Edwards at Lubed Hockey. And you guys, whoever's out there that plays NHL 25, my ultimate team name is Raging Raccoons. So if you happen to bump into me, go easy on me, guys. I play with a team that has a Bumblebee jersey and all that. I got away from wearing my Oilers one because there was too many guys wearing Oilers jerseys and all that. Too many Oiler fans out there. So there was too many times I'd be playing Oilers versus Oilers, and I just took away from it. But I think that's about a wrap for this particular episode, guys. I will see you next week, and we will kind of get back into the normal flow of things. This was an off episode as I had to recap 9 games and stuff. So, so next week I will be back, normal format. I also have a reflections piece for next week, so I hope you enjoy that. We'll see you next week, guys. Until then, have a good one.